Bill Burr is the Dave Moss character in the Broadway adaptation of Glengarry Glen Ross. So...
Oh.
You're so confused, like I didn't immediately say, okay, I'm going to talk about my trip to New York to go see Glengarry Glen Ross.
No, I was aware of that. I didn't know how Bill Burr fit in, so when you said, so Bill Burr, and then sort of paused, my mind started like spiderwebbing into like, what? Bill Burr. And I thought you were going to talk about...
Where are we going?
Well, yeah, I thought you were going to mention how, like, he's been on... I was like, oh, he's been on, like, random podcasts recently. It seems like he's trying
about how we should kill Elon Musk.
Yeah, he's, like, trying to speak to the everyman, and doing a pretty good job of it, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
And like, communicating that, like, hey, maybe some of these, like, ridiculous policy changes, it's not American to support it if it hurts the American people, right? Like... Maybe we should actually care about our fellow citizens. I don't know, something like that, right? And,
you would think.
And so this was a crazy curveball. Anyway, go on. Sorry. Glengarry Glen Ross, okay. Bill Burr is in it.
He's
Any more alliterations?
He's the Ed Harris character in the Broadway revival that they just did. So I just saw that on Saturday in New York. It was him... Bob Odenkirk, who I told you I saw on the street.
Yeah.
And then the third is Kieran Culkin, so Macaulay's brother from Succession.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah.
And he just won an Oscar for the movie A Real Pain, just like last month or earlier. It was 2 weeks ago.
Jeez.
As we record this. So, yeah, so when I bought the tickets... I bought the tickets like a few months back in like the late fall, I want to say, and I was like, oh, he's going to have won the Oscar by then, so I should buy these tickets now. And so...
Oh, smart. Yeah, okay, yeah. Always thinking, not just a hat rack.
Yeah, no, and it was, the show was completely mid. It was very fun.
Okay,
we had great seats, beautiful theater at the Palace. We had a good time, good dinner, like the trip was nice and all, but the show was just nothing crazy, nothing special. This is the second time I've seen this play now in person. Obviously, I've seen the movie like a dozen times, but I had seen the play last year, a few months ago, whatever, I don't know, time's fake. I saw it by like a very local, small production, like $10 tickets, in the town I live in, and it was great. It was an all-black cast, and it was like very interesting to see, and there was like more than just men in it, like there were female actresses, and it was a very interesting interpretation of the play, and like just a better, I think all of the performances were better. I know that sounds crazy to be like,
Jesus,
but like, they had such better like interpretations, like I said, of the characters. Like Bill Burr playing the Ed Harris, the angry guy, Dave Moss in the play. Kind of obvious.
Right.
Yeah,
spot on. You're not really going to find another angry guy to...
to do better as an angry man. Yeah, and so like, same with Kieran Culkin. I'm not super impressed with his performance style to begin with. I think he manages to take characters who on the page are very different and kind of flatten them out and just do his thing during them. And so I wasn't super impressed with that. Bob Odenkirk had some interesting stuff going on, but it was very surface level. Like it was also very comedic, like way, way more comedic than like the movie or this other version of the play.
Were
the
they
play's
going
funny,
for it
but...
like intentionally?
Yes.
Or... Oh, okay, all right.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, you might want to shoot me for this. I might be wrong. You might want to redacted me for this. Was Alec Baldwin in Glengarry Glen Ross?
He was, but that character is not in the play.
Oh,
so that's a movie creation. Yeah,
okay.
So that
interesting.
So
because I was going to ask,
really
who did
funny.
they get for him for the play? Because I was going to be like, it'd be funny if they just used Alec Baldwin. Like again, they just like had him in Broadway. I don't know.
That would be very funny.
Yeah.
No, well, what kind of like put up alarm bells for me in the first place when we got there? We like scanned in and we were like, all right, let's get a drink beforehand, and all of the like merch and like the menu, like the cocktail menu and stuff, it all had like always be closing kind of like branding. Like it was very, And I was like, that scene's not in the play. So, like, we're kind of playing off the movie here. Like, we're trying to attract, like, fans of the movie. Which, like, I'm a fan of the movie, but, you know, that's not the best scene in the movie.
Times, right? Like...
Yeah. It was a red flag, and I was like, oh, this is, like, a way more, like, hey, don't we love this Glengarry Glen Ross thing? Kind of a thing, you know, so it didn't blow me away.
So, when you were sending snaps about it, right? You sent the knives snap. You sent, I think, another one or two. But the knives one was the one where I was like, I don't even really remember that. And you're like, second place gets knives. It was sort of reminiscent of the, like, in Heat, like the beginning of Heat.
Yes, when everybody was like shouting lines.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
And watching that solo, I like...
You're like, oh, this movie's devastating.
Yeah, it's such a stone cold, somber, like, cold open, right? Like, just trains moving and shit. Like, it's not happy, it's not exciting, it is not fun. No. I think the rest of the movie, like, gets there, right? But, like, that opening is not that. And so, I don't know, a lot of, like, the sort of kitschy merch that you were sending, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know, man, but...
Yeah, it was... The steak knives, too, is even more egregious, because they did say, you know, always be closing is, like, a throwaway line later in the play, but they don't do that whole scene. Right. But the steak knives, I don't think they talk about that at all. And so just, like, branding around that is, like, I don't know, tough. Yeah, so... I don't know. I mean, it got some laughs. It was just very surface level. You know, Bill Burr was, like, getting the loudest pops from the audience, which... was just because he's the comedian everybody knows. I don't know. Yeah. It was not great.
It's also easy to laugh at the loud guy, right? Like, loud, angry guy.
Exactly.
It's like, it's always going to be, even if it's uncomfortable laughter, it's the easiest thing in the world to, like, break that, like, because when somebody's yelling, like, it's obviously a bit of tension, right? So you break it with a laugh, and it's, like, much easier to laugh at, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be funny. I mean, so.
Yeah. It just it didn't impress me too much. So, you know, and I mean, I know that's kind of unfair because I am comparing it to, you know, a wildly different interpretation of the text, and then the movie, which has some of the greatest actors who've ever been on a screen.
Yeah.
So, I get that, like, you know, maybe Bob Odenkirk and Kieran Culkin can't compare, but I don't know.
It's also very different in person versus, like, on the screen. But like you were saying,
that's true. Yeah.
Like, they have their own interpretation of it, but you've seen other interpretations of it, which felt better. Much better to watch.
Yeah. Also, all of the kind of, like, the screening that we went to where people were, like, laughing at all of the, you know, the funny lines and whatever, you know, when he says, like, she's got a great ass. People laughed at all of the racial slurs. And it's like, guys, I don't know.
Guys, what is this? 11th grade English class while we're reading Huck Finn? Come on. Move on.
True, 11th.
I don't know when. I don't know when we read that.
11th?
Yeah, somewhere
I was
around
like,
there.
Whoa,
like 9th.
That's a little late.
Either 9th, 10th, or 11th. It was around there. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's intro to high school English is when you read Huck Finn, because then it's like, whoa, we're like adults now. We read the N-word, like kind of a thing.
Well, I was like, I know we did not do that in middle school. Like that, not gonna happen. I don't know when it happened. I feel like every year of English for me was very similar. I mean, I had 2 years. I had the same teacher for 2 years, like 9th, 11th.
Because I did get held back.
Yeah, multiple times. Eventually, he just passed me on, right? No, but I had like 9th, 11th, 10th, 12th. So, like, I was like, it's either 9th or 11th, right? I know I had it with the one guy, and he was already kind of a jokester, so.
Interesting.
Yeah. They
should teach Glengarry Glen Ross in school.
They should.
I bet that would get the kids reading. That'd be great.
I think my my 10th and 12th grade teacher probably would have taught that. I feel like he probably did at like one point in time, because he taught like Fight Club and stuff in school. So
wildly different.
Wow. I know.
Like, unbelievably.
Okay, he's taught things. Okay, come on.
We should do Fight Club as a movie, because you haven't seen it, right?
No, I haven't. I have not.
Yeah.
I've seen like parts of it, and I've also like read like excerpts from the text.
Okay.
but no, I haven't seen the full
text.
thing. The text.
The sacred texts.
The text.
It's a movie that's better than the book. It's one of those types of movies that's like an elevation of the source material. I feel like a lot of those books in the, like, whatever they're called, Brat Pack? Is it the Brat Pack of writers? The, like, all of the, like, gays who did coke in the late 80s, early 90s, like, in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bret Easton Ellis. Like, the American Psycho adaptation is leagues better than the book.
Yeah.
Fight Club, kind of same deal. Chuck Palahniuk's an interesting writer, but, you know, we only go so far. Anyway.
I feel like that's why we were only given excerpts. My teacher gave, like, different warnings for, like, reading the book versus reading the movie, and he was like, for the book, he was like, yeah, I don't know, the guy's has some views, but, like, I mean, he gave pretty much, like, the same boilerplate warning with, like, Ayn Rand, where he was like, listen, like, there is some stuff that you can pull out of this, but, like, please do not, like, devote your life to it.
Yeah.
And then for the movie,
well,
he
it's
was
an
like,
easily misinterpreted text, right. I feel like.
Right.
Yeah, if you're in 9th grade,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah. And then the movie, he was like, hey, just throw out the ending, and you'll pretty much be good with the rest. So.
Yeah.
Which I have seen the ending, the, like, little end card bit, not title card, but whatever you want to call it, so.
Where he's like, you met me at a very interesting time in my life, and then buildings start to blow up.
Yeah. Well, and then don't they say that, like, it was all in his head or something, yada yada? Am I crazy? No? Okay. Or is that the book?
I mean, Fight Club...
Where, like...
I feel like we shouldn't talk about this.
We probably shouldn't talk about this.
Spoil it.
Right. Because Tyler... Wait, okay.
It is Fight Club.
Okay.
So you're not supposed to talk about it.
Right, true.
I can't believe I just got that. I just popped that joke off so clean.
Wait, can I ask a real question, though, and you might have to cut this? Tyler Durden's, like, not a real person, right? Is that the same in the book and the movie?
I'm not telling you anything about who Tyler Durden is.
Fuck you.
Are you kidding me? No, you have to watch this
He's
movie.
a figment of the guy's imagination, right? It's like a Donnie Darko situation, no?
Donnie Darko? What? Have you seen Donnie Darko?
I haven't. But I know there's a rabbit in it, and that guy's not real either.
Actually, the rabbit is just like a projection that you've seen in all of the promotional materials for the movie. There's a rabbit there. Yeah.
Tyler Durden is somebody that only you've seen in every promotional video.
I feel like it's worth going in with as little info as possible. I know that, like,
you said that about everything.
Ricky, I do, and you're in a good position where you
are just dumb as rocks. Never don't know shit
no.
about shit.
I just meant that you don't know anything about
don't know shit about shit.
Movies. Listen, the fact that I was able to get you to watch The Departed and you didn't know that everybody gets popped in the end.
Yeah, like, fucked
and
up,
I have
honestly.
that Snapchat video of me recording you watching DiCaprio get popped.
I remember you showed me the video of me watching. Oh fuck, what was it?
It was The Departed.
No, there was another one.
That's the one I have.
There was another one.
Oh,
that you sent to Chris. Oh,
shout out, Chris.
Was it The Thing? I think
Alien?
it was The Thing.
Oh, The Thing.
It might have been Alien. Yeah.
No, it was probably The Thing defibrillator scene. I've got my fists up.
Yeah. I remember because, like, it's just me, like, because it's just the fucking bowl of popcorn, and, like, you see, I, like, reach for it halfway, and then I just, like, stop for, like 10 seconds. I'm just, like, sitting there.
Well, because we watched The Thing with the group, because then
right. Because Lucy
Tom was like, "This movie's dumb."
Yeah, wasn't Lucy there too? Or Lucy was there for Alien.
Alien with us.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then she was like, "I gotta go home."
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I can't believe Tom got tired of that thing. Crazy.
Yeah, he was like, "This movie's so cheesy and dumb." I'm like, "You're cheesy and dumb." Anti shout out to you, Tom, who don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah, fucked up.
This is We Want to Watch. I have no cleaner intro than that.
My name's Ricky.
It is, and my name is Lane. This is a podcast about movies that we want to watch. This week was a Lane's Frame. We watched Tokyo Story from 1953.
Tokyo Monogatari. Alright, you don't have to include that.
Oh, I'm actually going to play it 6 times in a row.
Great, thanks.
In the edit. Directed by Yasujirō Ozu.
Ozu, yeah.
I think isn't the Z supposed to be kind of more S-like? Isn't it like not like Ozu?
If so, it's like Oz. They wouldn't pronounce it all the way. Because like OSU is the beat game. It's Os.
Interesting.
Osu. Os. So I don't know. I could be Ozu or it could just be Oz. Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
And then I'll cut out us talking about this.
Got us?
I picked this movie because, and I'm going to say Ozu because that sounds more accurate to my English hearing ear.
Yeah, fair.
This director and this movie are very well regarded. This is a kind of like a classic, I would say like a director's director, or like a very well known kind of like elevated artistic kind of critically acclaimed director, and this is basically his most famous movie, I would say, what's considered his masterpiece. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I figured it would be kind of a good change of pace for us. You know, we've watched a lot of like bleh movies the last few weeks, since Jean Dielman. So I picked this one, and I kind of, as I was thinking of like picking it, I was a little hesitant when we did so because we've talked about this before. I've made the joke about like we'll never watch Schindler's List for this podcast, like that there's just some movies that are just like out of our depth or out of our expertise so far. We would just sound like idiots or whatever, and like I actually don't think that. I don't want us to feel like there's anything off limits, like that there are movies too serious or too, like artistic, or we're just too stupid to talk about them. I don't want us to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's listening to this podcast for our like insightful critiques anyway.
Right. So thank God, by the way.
Yeah. If you are, that's sad.
That's on you.
I imagine
all
a
right.
future.
Yeah, like unless this is your first episode, you should kind of get the gist of it by now, right? Like that's not what we do. It's not our thing. So.
Yeah, I imagine a future where one of us pops off for some reason and gets like super famous or gathers like a following, and people go back and listen to our back catalog of bad episodes where we're talking about.
So all of them are no.
Yeah, what would it look like to? Never mind. I'm not going to say anything else. Anyway, so one of my goals this year has also been for us to watch more international film, kind of more, film from the fringe or the edges too. So I'm trying to. All that said, that's why I picked this. Now that said, this movie did not click with me at all.
Yeah,
I had a really. I was like, maybe I am too stupid to talk about these movies.
I also feel too stupid to talk about it.
I feel like I got it, but I felt like it didn't get me.
Yes.
Not to sound like a complete.
I will say I like
Hallmark card.
So I did feel like two types of. All right. I don't know. I'll say the good of this movie is let's talk about the good things first, and then we can talk about the things maybe we didn't like so much.
Yeah.
So like as far as like the story goes and like emotional impact, I did feel two types of like sadness and a weird almost like I don't know, aching nostalgia kind of.
Really?
Yes. So earlier in the film when they're talking specifically when at the bar scene, right? When they're like drinking and they're talking and the guy's like
that was where the movie got closest to greatness for me.
Yeah.
Was that bar scene.
Yeah. When he was like, yeah, no, like he was like, yeah, like I guess maybe we just like, we put too much not too much faith. He says maybe we put too many expectations on our children.
On our kids. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, yeah, that hurt. Like it hurt hearing that, especially because they're talking about like their sons that died, and then they're like, oh, and then he's like, oh yeah,
and one of them's only a middle manager. Yeah, it's very like
and he's like, oh yeah, my one son became a doctor, but like he's kind of just like a small
only the doctor
clinic.
Of a small town.
Yeah, he's like a small town doctor. He's not like a big, because he's in Tokyo, right? So he's like, oh, like he's a big Tokyo doctor, but it's like, oh, he's just like for the block, right?
Just.
Right, just in quotes. which is like understandable, but it's definitely I don't know. I mean, every parent wants their child to do well, obviously.
Yeah.
But also just like with the way that the parents were received and everything, like
that was tough.
Yeah, it's a real like melancholic note where it's like, all right, well, and it doesn't even seem like there are parts of the movie where it does seem like the kids see the parents as a burden, right? But
for sure.
But at the same time, they're still like, well, I mean, they're our parents, and like part of it's that like sort of, I guess, cultural, which I mean maybe isn't as prevalent here, but like the like, oh, like, well, we need to
the obligation to take care of your parents.
Right. We still need to be
duty.
Yeah, we still need to be respectful. We still need to welcome them into our home. Yada yada. Like, we have to provide for them, and like, even when like the daughter kind of like kicks them out, quote unquote, like, and like she convinces the older son to like help chip in a bit for like the spa thing, like. It's kind of funny because like when they're going back and forth, she's like, "Oh no, I know a great place, very cheap too, great views, very cheap," and it's like, all right,
yeah. It's at first I kind of was like, "Oh, these kids aren't that bad." Like I knew the gist of this movie going in, and I was like, "The kids aren't that bad." And then as the movie went on, I was like, "Okay, the kids are kind of bad." But like, you know, still it's not like an "Am I the asshole" post where it's like, my kids are cremating me while I'm still alive. Am I the asshole?
Right.
Like it's not like that. But it is still like, you know, you see the pain, like being, you know, communicated. And I think you get the most emotion in those two scenes, the one at the bar and then the one where the mother is talking to the daughter-in-law. Alone when she's like, why haven't you remarried? You know, you can do that anytime, like whatever. Those are the two like key scenes where I think you get the most emotion from them.
So a lot in the back half really struck me. That scene's great, where she's talking to the daughter and she's like, hey, like, you need to pursue your own life. And again, that a lot of that is like the
point of the movie.
Yeah, the point of the movie, I guess. But I was going to say, it's like the like raising of a child, right? It's like the pushing them from the nest. And like, even though like they're not, like she's not their child. Related, yeah. It's,
but they feel
right. They still want what's best for her. They still want her to, even if it maybe isn't what's best for them, like they want her to be able to live her own life. Which is like, I mean, noble, right? And it's also really sad, you know? Because it's like, well, like... And, like, and a lot of their goodbyes and stuff where the, like, because, like, I mean, the mother obviously, like, knew, like, she's like...
She can tell.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, as soon as she said she was faint at the hot springs, that's when I was like...
It was over.
Like, immediately I was like, that's a flag.
It's so over.
And that's, like, also...
Yeah.
I feel like that's like, I don't know... Maybe kind of a trope
common
now.
Movie.
Especially in Japanese cinema, it's like a trope where it's like, oh, like I'm feeling kind of faint, and like it's like that's a flag. That person is like ailing, ill, or going to die, right? Like,
it's like when a character coughs.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, oh yeah, and you're dying in the third act. Like you will get consumption.
When you see them like take a tissue out of their like breast pocket and they cough into it, and then like they look at it for a second blood. And put it away, like that. Even if you don't see it, right, you're still like, oh no.
Yeah. There's blood in there. They've got the illness.
But the other scene that struck me is like really sad. I mean, obviously a lot of emotion when she's telling the daughter to move on, but really sad is later when the son shows up and he's late.
Oh yeah, that scene's tough.
Especially because like it's right after he was like, oh yeah, you know. Parents just showed up, pain in the ass, you know, my mom's sick, I had to get her some blankets and stuff, call a doctor, oh, jeez. But anyway, back to work, right?
And then he's just like, oh, I was too late. Like, he, like, it just, like, hits him all at once, you know?
And he literally says, if I took the 8:30, I would have been here. And it's like, yeah. And that's how it is sometimes. It's like, well...
You just don't know.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of loss, especially, like, losing loved ones is like... Oh shit, if I had just done blank, and it's like, right, I mean, it doesn't change that you would have lost them anyway, but at least you could have, like, had a little bit of closure. No.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that hurt.
I think that...
It's tough.
No, I mean, it's tough, you know, to watch, especially, like, you know, when they're like, look at the corpse, look how peaceful she looks. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's really hitting all these people at once.
And we get the last scene of him just looking off into the sunset, or well, not really sunset, but like just sort of like looking off into the distance, and
sun,
and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna be lonely, and like,
that's it.
Like you get like nothing else. There's like maybe 10 seconds left where it's like a steamboat or something
they show
goes past.
The skyline or whatever. Yeah. It's Now, I have never had a loved one I was close to die. Now, that said, I've had lots of people die in my life, but, like, I just don't have a very strong attachment to basically any of my family. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how much differently this would hit if I did, you know? Like, I feel like this particular, like, the thrust of this story just didn't grip me. It's also very strongly placed in the context, I think, of like post-war Japan,
right?
Like industrialization, changing cultural norms. Like you said, the duty to your parents kind of being like forsaken or like not as big of a deal. Like just the shifting cultural norms. Mm-hmm. All of that is kind of not super relatable to me. Mm-hmm. Not just like because I'm American and live in 2025, but you know, just my own personal experience with my family. So like, I feel like I really liked the way this movie looked, and we'll talk about that. Like, because it was super... Like, I've never seen a movie that looks like this. Even though it doesn't look that interesting, quote unquote, if that makes sense. There's nothing flashy about it, but it's so understated that it becomes flashy. It's so, like, stylized in a way.
Yeah. I have a lot to talk about. Okay, you hit a lot of things in a row there. I have a lot to talk about.
Sorry, I said a lot. Yeah, go ahead, go on.
You were
Ricky's like, so my family, I put them all in hospice.
No, you're kind of second point. The post-war Japan, a lot of changing norms.
Ricky's like, as someone in post-war Japan.
No. I mean, you see it a lot though. Like, so even just reflected on like the gender roles, right? Like, I mean,
sure, yeah,
working women, like they're all working women, right? Which is like, would have been seen as like a little more askew, like before, like pre-war Japan.
Yeah.
So that's already like a kind of big change. And then secondary to that is it's tough. I think it's almost impossible for like you or I nowadays to watch a movie from like the 50s, right?
The 50s.
And when they talk about distances, right? Because...
Oh, sure. Yeah, they went from like Tokyo to whatever, the bumfuck nowhere, and it took them like 3 days or whatever. And, but really it's, you know, that's
19
like thousands
hours
of miles
by train.
Traverse. Yeah.
Which by train now is like...
4, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, probably 4. I mean, I'm trying to think like the like furthest distances on Japan, it's like... Well, I mean, not counting the like Southern Island bit, it's like 8-ish hours or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But they've got like the maglev trains, right? They're bullet train traveling at 200 miles an hour. It's like
also
crazy.
You can fly.
Yes.
Get there in like an hour, probably.
Right. That's also huge.
That's true. Yeah.
But like just in terms of like being on a train, like you have to also think about it from like their point of view when they talk about like the train sickness and stuff, and like.
Yeah.
I sort of ragged on like the one kid for being like for making light of his mother's sickness, but at the same time, like it is a really
trains
long
used to
train
be
ride.
worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like as somebody who like sits on buses for like 5 hours at a time, fairly regularly, it's like it is like kind of annoying, and I could see how it would be really tough on somebody who's older. And like I would hate to do
back in the day, it would have been. Like a lot less comfortable too, right?
Yes.
Like even you know, just comparatively, like, you know, the physical infrastructure of a bus or modern bus versus a train back then, or a modern train, you know.
Right. Well, like that's what modern trains I think are very comfortable relative to other things.
They are,
and like buses are a bit below that, just because like the road and like you're more in touch with like the machinery, right? Because it's like right there and
it's
moving
smaller.
you. And I feel like that's a bit closer to trains back then. Although, like, again, like with a train back, like you're feeling the tracks, right? Like, So it's definitely understandable to sort of, you know, be like, yeah, whatever. Tough for them, tough ride, happens, and sort of dismiss it out of hand. So, But yeah,
that's true.
Like our world has kind of shrunk in that way, right? Where it's like distances are not as long. It doesn't take as long to traverse long distances.
Yeah.
So
you could also just like, oh God, my mom is like really sick. Call your mom, FaceTime your mom.
Right.
Like, it's not as
right.
You know. Yeah.
Right.
The technology, even if you can't get there the next day, or that day.
Yeah. Well, even when they're talking to the one youngest daughter, I think it was the youngest daughter.
The one they live with still. Yeah.
No. Well, the one they were visiting, the youngest one they were visiting, then, the one who didn't.
The daughter-in-law.
Did they?
Because there's the daughter-in-law, there's Kyoko, the one that they live with, and then there's the two. There's like the wife of the older son, and Shige is the working one who puts them up in the spa and whatnot, who kicks them out.
Yeah. I guess it was Kyoko. Yeah. No.
Because she's gone for like half the movie, or like 3/4 of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, but she doesn't stay in Tokyo. It was one of the daughters who was staying.
No,
in Tokyo,
she doesn't. Oh, okay. Well,
I guess
either way,
maybe it was Noriko. I don't recall. Maybe it was Fumiko
what's
too.
The...
I don't know. I'm looking at the family tree right now, but yeah. Either way, like the mother says, like, hey, you should visit us sometime. I think she says you should visit us sometime, and the daughter was like, oh, I would, but it's so far away, and she goes, oh. Yeah, that's fine. Like, don't worry about it then.
I think that is
because she says she won't be back.
The daughter-in-law
specifically. Okay.
I feel like it's the daughter-in-law that says that because she's like, kind of saying like, oh, I wish I could, but
yeah.
I feel like she's on the cusp of starting her new life with that conversation. Like that's the first time that she's really like truly considering like. Maybe I don't need to take care of my dead husband's parents in the same way, and maybe I can move on.
Yeah.
This is it's good. I like the complexity of this problem. Like we've talked about if you have a villain or like an antagonist or something, or like any kind of conflict in a movie, it's very easy to create a caricature or like an obvious bad guy. It's like, these kids are fucking assholes. And, like, the kids are selfish, but they're not unbelievably so. It is a measured kind of depiction of these parents and their kids. And, like, the parents aren't doing anything wrong, but the kids, and they do, like, say, like, yeah, the kids are eventually, they're going to live their life. And that's not to say that that's okay or right for them to treat the parents this way, but it is an understandable human conflict, especially in the world. Humanity in the world around us, as one might say.
Truthfully.
And it's not something with a solution. The solution isn't just like, well, obviously these kids just need to like take care of their parents 24/7 and abandon their own families and lives and careers. And, that's not reasonable. No one thinks that's what should happen. So it's just, it's sad and there's no solution, which is compelling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also wanted to say, this movie does kind of hit closer to home for me, for the first point, you're talking about. So my grandmother died fairly recently, which I've spoken to you about. I don't think I've spoken about it on the pod. Maybe not too recently now, but yeah, and I don't know, I live decently far away from her, so, like, going back home was kind of tough, and there was also a lot of sort of drama around that, but I did go back, and luckily, like, the weekend I went back was, like, the one weekend that she was, like, most lucid, near the end, and so I got to remember her as a bit closer, I guess.
A lucid person you love.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A fairly lucid person that I loved. And, like, we got to, like, at least, like, she, like, kind of recognized me. She, you might have to bleep this. She recognized me as kid, instead of by my name, Ricky, which is, like...
Yeah, sure.
Funny.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Like, she's right.
Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, like, I helped take care of her a very little bit, like, just, helping her get out of bed, put her back in bed, yada yada. But still, I mean, it hurts, and like, part of me is like, do I wish I was there? Because like they did kind of know when it was their time to go, but I mean there were a few weekends in a row where they were like, well, Rick, this might be it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, do I regret not going down like every weekend? Yeah, a little, I guess, but at the same time, it sounds like it was a really horrible time, like to like see that like continuous downfall, right. Like
yeah.
So I don't know, like it's almost like noble. I almost see it as like noble of like the parents in this movie to go out and to like visit their children like that one last time and like give them that memory of like, hey, like we stopped by.
Remember when we were all together and we sight saw and right, like whatever, had dinner.
And I think the mom even says like, oh, we saw all our kids in like the last week, you know? It's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. My mom's mom died last month. Ooh. And I'm like relatively pretty much estranged from my mom. And I might bleep this. When I got the call, because she left a voicemail, like, crying. This sounds super cruel, but she left me a voicemail crying, and I hadn't picked up, and I listened to it, and she was just like, call me back, whatever, bye. And I was like, man, I hope my dad's dead. And then when she told me, I was like, oh, that's too bad. Wrong kid died, you know, kind of a thing.
You're like, damn. You sure that's the only death in the family? Damn.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Nothing else has changed. Yeah.
No one closer to home? Like, they're not in the building right now? Oh, all right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, that's just it sucks. You know, I know because my mom was there when it happened, like when my grandmother died, and she was just visiting. You know, she lives in Florida. My mom lives in Michigan, so you know, it was like a trip that they were taking to see, and it's like, oh well, and she was fine. She wasn't, you know, like on her deathbed or anything. She was an older woman, but not, you know, not like they weren't visiting because she was dying, right? So, just kind of sucked more. But again, it's like, well, would you rather the last time you saw her like be, you know, kind of unexpected and you didn't get to see her one last time? Kind of, you know, it's tough.
Huh.
Which is better, really.
Yeah.
So.
No. All right, on to happier things.
Yeah.
This movie does look great.
This movie looks crazy. It took me a minute to realize, like, oh, the camera's, like, not moving.
Yeah.
Like, the camera does not move. So... Like, there's different shots, but there's no panning, you know, or anything like that. It looks like a dollhouse.
Yeah.
But not, like, in the, like, Wes Anderson, like, everything's perfectly framed way, but in a... I feel like I really noticed how deep the sets were. Mm-hmm. Like, the and, like, this is partially the black and white photography of it, too. You could really, like, everything felt like a real room.
Yeah.
And you could, like, because you were fixated on this, like, one, you know, and the aspect ratio does this, too. It's, like, this semi-square or pretty close to square kind of shot, right, from this low angle. And you see just, like, every object on the table. You could see into the next room behind, like, the tatami, like, that they're sitting on. You can kind of see, like, through the screens into the kitchen or whatever that's behind them. And, like, people come and go. It's very strange and interesting.
I was going to say, I think a lot of that is also, like, Japanese home construction with the screens. When you see, like, if you see, like, a room and then, like, they open the screen and walk back further, like, it adds just so much depth. And, like, they do that, like, 2 or 3 times, right? And then you're like, oh, like, like, this place is big. And it does add a lot of depth to every shot. I really wanted to talk about the outside shots, though.
Oh, sure.
Because, like, just gorgeous. Like, the country is gorgeous. And I wanted to ask, this might be a dumb question. Did they cut the background into these shots? Because I don't know how they could do that.
It could have been rear projection. Yeah. So do you know what rear projection is? Do you know how have you ever heard that before?
I've heard it before. I don't know how it works or what the effect is.
So, like, imagine, like, an old movie, like, from the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and there's somebody driving, right? Yeah. And then you can see the background is moving behind them.
Yeah.
So that's just, like, they're projecting something on the screen, like, behind it, like, a moving image, like a movie, like, a moving image, like I'm in the fucking 30s. Yeah. Like, they're projecting, like, the sort of video.
Moving image! We'll call them movers, right?
Yeah. They're pulling the video of, like, the background changing while the people sit in a stationary car.
Yeah.
Or, like, you see that sometimes with, like, yeah, it's the same idea. Actually, The Substance has a similar, like, the Substance from 2025.
I know, yeah.
Or 2024.
Yeah.
Just in case. It's my best picture winner. But they use a silk screen, like a high quality silk screen. All of those, shots out the windows, those aren't real.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, it's not CG. It's like a printed screen HD, that's like pasted up again. So like that type of photography of like having a printed background or a projected background, that's really common, especially in these older movies where they, they have like these huge landscape shots. They didn't necessarily, it's not like an epic movie where they have a bajillion dollars necessarily. Like Star Wars does some of this,
So and that's where like some of my questioning of it
now I don't know if this movie did, but
yeah. But like that's where a lot of my questioning of it came into play, especially like, I mean, obviously, large parts of Japan at this time were like still
half industrialized,
right, getting industrialized, but like still really beautiful, right? Like there's one where we see of I believe it's the castle in Tokyo, right? I don't know the official name for it. But like, I mean, you see it in the background of like a lot of shots, but there's like one in particular that like really like struck me where it
looked cool.
Yeah, it looks cool as hell. I think they used it as like a scene transition, but like you see it in like all its glory, and then like whenever you see it in the background again, it's like, oh shit, like that's that building, like that's that, man.
Yeah.
And then when they're at the hot springs, and they're sort of like sitting on the ledge and like overlooking it, like that like beach shoreline area, that's like way too idyllic, right? There's no way they recorded that and like they just got it, like they just nailed it, right? I mean, I don't know, or maybe they did, right? Like,
I imagine that they probably, I mean, they didn't, I'm not sure, right? I imagine that they probably took shots, like photography, they sent out a crew to like, okay, film this idyllic beach, and then they, either cut to it or, like I said, used kind of like movie magic in that way to make it look like it. But I doubt that they built a set on that beach. You know what I mean?
Right,
I don't think they did that.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of this movie is probably sets, just because of the way the camera is angled, that I don't think that you would be able to maneuver a camera or place a camera in that way and make it look the way it does. Because, you would be seeing the ceiling. Like, you'd be seeing the ceiling in some of the... Because these shots are so low that I think that you would have to build, like, a fake... like, make it look taller in that building. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a, production designer or whatever, but...
I mean, yeah, but there are, like, a decent number of, like, sort of eye-level-ish shots, right? So, like... I don't know.
Well, that's the other...
I mean, the ones where they're, like, sitting are all very low. Yeah, I'll give you that, yeah.
But then, well, there's two things, right? Because they're like, anytime where there are people like not facing the camera head on, I feel like you can see their whole body, which is really unusual, right? Yeah. Like, and that's because the camera's so low. Like when they're standing and talking or whatever, it's like, even if they're like walking from one room to another, you can see like head to toe, like, their whole whatever. But then, yeah, the other weird kind of cinematography thing about this movie that makes it not look like any other fucking movie, everyone's talking down the barrel of the lens. Like, everybody's delivering lines to the camera as if the camera is their co-actor or their co-star. It's bizarre. It's weird. It looks weird. Yeah. But it's not, like, bad. It's just super strange.
Yeah, so that struck me... That really got me, like, near the middle of the movie again, like, where, when they're in the train station... And, like, they're all, like, talking to each other. There's like, a few cuts where it's just, like them, like you said, just, like, talking down the barrel of the lens.
It's super intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, for me, it kind of, like, drives... Especially when they're, like, thanking them for, hey, I know. When they're thanking them for, like, stopping by and, like, like, the parents are, like, very thankful.
It's very intimate.
For them, like, yeah, like, they're thankful for them, like, hosting them and everything.
Yeah.
It's very, like, said to the camera. It's, like, I think that's why, like, a part of it gives me that weird, like, almost, like, nostalgia where it's, like, oh, yeah, like, this is what it feels like.
I'm remembering my mom talk to me. Yeah. Right,
well, like, this is what it feels like to be, like leaving, like, anyone after, like, visiting for a while, especially, like, family that you're visiting, because it's always, like, what do you say, right? It is kind of weird, yeah, because, like, how much can you convey in, like, your words, right? Like,
yeah,
and especially, like, that hasn't already been said, right? Because, like, at that point, you've already, like, you've done all the niceties, you've done the formalities, and you sort of also, like, gotten down to the nitty-gritties of, like, what's going on in your lives, and then afterwards, it's like, all right, like, well, thanks. Like,
I'm gonna get on this train now.
Yeah. It's like, see ya.
Yeah. I feel that way whenever I'm leaving. This is lame, but, like, whenever I'm leaving work, like, when I visit in person, and then I'm like, well, I have to catch a flight. Like, these are my coworkers, so I'm not, like, having this, like, tearful, heartfelt goodbye. But you have to say something kind of, like, acknowledging, like, I have been here a week and I am leaving. Thank you for having meetings with me.
Yeah.
Like,
I will no longer be seeing you in person, but, like...
Yes, but I will see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow either way.
Yeah. I will see your green dot on the screen and, like, in meetings, so...
It's like ending an essay. Like, you have to, like, have a closing argument almost, you know? So yeah, it's the same kind of, like, awkward, like, well, what do I even say to sum up these emotions? Obviously, the emotions are much more shallow with your coworkers, but yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But so that style of, like... It's also jarring sometimes, the way that they're kind of facing the camera, because they're not following the rule of 180, where, like, you're supposed to say, okay, if the person's on the left side of the screen and this other person's on the right side of the screen and they're facing each other, then when you cut to another shot or another angle, they should preserve that, like, this person's on the left and this person's on the right. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
They will show different shots of people, like, again, like, looking down the barrel of the lens or being kind of situated or, like, walking onto different parts of the screen that are, like, just, like, strange. Like, just not... And again, it's not bad. It's just so unusual compared to what you're used to, especially older movies that kind of followed these rules more closely. Like, there's no, like, cinematography back then, you know? Yeah. So there's no Watchmen happening. So it's very unique and, like, awkward. Yeah.
A lot of this movie does feel awkward at times, and, like, also maybe it's a weird thing for me to say. I think some parts of Japanese culture just seem awkward to, like, Americans, at least.
That's fair.
Or at least to me personally. I think there are, like, parts of Japanese culture that are just, like, a little, like, awkward.
There's a lot of sustained eye contact in this that is awkward. Yeah, I would say. And, like, and you get, I mean, that's heightened because of people looking at the camera when they deliver these lines. So you're like, are these bad performances, or is this a mannerism, or is this, like, some secret third thing I'm not really tapping into?
And I was gonna say, like, the mannerisms and, like, the like, overt formality several times, even between, like family members, right? Where which again, like, from, like, a Western lens does seem, like, kind of awkward, but, like, I don't know. There are times, and, like, there was one time, especially the son in particular, where, like, he like, delivered, like, there's, like, a couple of lines where he sort of delivers them, and, like, there's not a ton of emotion in, like, the delivery, but then, like, you see his face do, like, this sort of, like, crack for, like, a second, and then he's, like, back at it, right? And it's like, oh, okay, so, like, he is, like, especially when, like, he gets, like, the telegram that, like, that his mom's dying while he's on the phone. Like, it's like, obviously he is shaken up, right? Like, obviously he is, like, affected by it, but he's like, okay, well, and, like, I mean, that whole thing between, like, him and his sister, where, like, because, like, she's sort of, like, leaving, and then she comes back, and she's like, oh, okay, so, like, I'm gonna get everything ready, and he's like, yeah, we'll leave tonight. And he goes, okay.
Yeah.
And then she, like, goes to leave again, and she, like, turns around, and then like just like sort of like
and
thinks
she's
better
like,
of it.
Should we get Morning clothes?
Oh yeah. She said
that too.
She says that's what she says the second time. She says, should we get morning clothes? And he says, bring them. If we don't need them, like that's great, but like bring them just in case.
Yeah.
And then like as she goes to leave, she turns back a second time and then just sort of like thinks better of it and leaves. And it's like that's a very, very human thing, right? Like where it's like the younger daughter kind of wants to follow. I mean, not even younger daughter, but like the younger sibling wants to follow what the older sibling's going to do. And it's obvious that she's like taking cues from him. And like she needs reassurance from him essentially, right? And he's like, well, like
I think so. Yeah.
Like he's like essentially like I'm not promising anything, but like come on, we have to go there. We have to be there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's part of it too, right? Because we've seen other like Japanese movies where there is more emotion kind of conveyed.
Yeah,
so I think this is part of that, like in the same way that, we've watched movies with repressed white people, that don't express their emotions. This obviously is not quite to the level of like tragedy of the piano teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
But that is, it adds to the sadness or the melancholy that you're talking about.
Right. You get that, like, because, like, it's also because, like, the nation is in mourning, almost, where it's like, well...
Yeah.
Like, how...
It's only 10 years, right? After?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bomb.
Yeah.
Or not even 10?
Not even. So it's like...
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, like, how much emotion...
Can you even show?
Not even... I don't want to say, like, can you show, but, like, is like, appropriate.
Is it appropriate?
Right. Because it's like, well, like... And I mean, they lost their brother, too, and it's like, all right, well...
Right.
Like, well, I guess it's just like another loss in the family, and it's again like that sucks. It obviously doesn't make it easier, but at the same time, it's like, well, like they sort of have to, and especially like the eldest brother, like he has to put on the strong face. He has to be the one that to like set the example for what everyone else has to do.
Yeah.
It
was when we visited in November of this last year, that level, obviously not because of the war, but just like the level of politeness and kind of like reservedness that was expressed by basically everyone we saw, like everyone we interacted with, like, and granted we were in a big city and obviously we're tourists, so people treat us differently, right. than they would, their families and whatnot. But it was very different and so very, so it's tough to tell how much of that is performance choice, how much of that is a cultural thing, how much of it is the, the thrust of this story versus the specific mannerisms these actors are choosing to convey. It's which makes me feel like it's harder to kind of lock in for me.
Yeah, for
this
sure.
one, because there's so many
many factors at play,
barriers to understanding. So much nuance. So I don't know, I part of me wonders if we had watched a different movie by this director, if we would have been able to kind of crack into it more, if we had like more of a solid entry point, or more straightforward, I would say, entry point, I guess. But I don't know, I'm glad we watched it, but
same.
Definitely I was like not blown away, so I was expecting to have it grab me, but it just did not.
I did read that this is like hailed as the best movie of all time, and I just did not see it as that. Again, not saying that I think it's a bad movie by like any standard, right? But like you said, it just did not like sink its hooks into me. Even like understanding a lot of the context and stuff, it is still a movie that's very difficult to really get into, because of like cultural differences, time differences, I guess, temporal differences, like just the state of that nation at that time is so radically different than from like I guess like a mentality that I can like easily slip into and like be locked in on in a movie for like 2 hours, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's maybe if we watch this movie in 10 years with more maturity
Right.
and like different times in our lives,
Yeah.
I feel the same way about coming of age movies.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
really like coming of age movies
Hmm.
that much. I'm like, I can't really like, I feel like my adolescence was pretty different than like what a coming of age movie is trying to portray.
Hmm.
And so I'm kind of like, I don't know, this isn't for like cool, I guess, but like not for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, you know, obviously I'm not going to come of age again, but like
Hmm.
I'm sure I will have a family member die or someone close, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like not be able to be there for somebody in the way, um, in this painful kind of like longing, sad way.
Yeah.
But I just don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Until then,
Mhm.
it's not a life changing movie, I guess, in that way.
Yeah. I think coming of age movies also are like, it's easy to like, it's a lot easier to, because they're like a bit more formulaic, and like it's a bit easier to nail down that sort of like coming across an almost like insurmountable obstacle, and like finding it within yourself to overcome that, right? And that feels like a lot more
Yeah.
universal than like these like sort of like longing, drifting, like
Yeah. I have my own family, but I can't devote time to my parents. Yeah, kind
right,
of a
right.
thing.
And like, does
Yeah.
that make me a bad person? And it's like, all right, well, but
Yeah.
how much do I have to do? And it's like, well, like they did do everything they could for me, and it's like, all right, well, And then also like on the flip side, that the
Yeah.
parents, right? Like
Right.
I mean, because they're, I don't know. I think the only reason that the dad went out and got drunk like that versus like just getting a hotel room or something, um, was likely because like they felt a little shunted away, right? Like they felt
Yeah, he was looking for
right,
connection. He was looking to, yeah,
right,
reminisce.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean that's yeah, I mean I think he reached out just like maybe just for like the room, just like hey, like hey would it be acceptable if I could like stay here for the night, yada yada, and then like when he
Yeah.
found that like kindred spirit, who also seemed like the guy that he visited was like, oh yeah man, it's been so long since we've been drinking, but like obviously he still like sort of drinks every now and again because the hostess at the bar
Yeah.
knew him, so like I think, but he was like he was also like an older guy who had a kid who like kind of felt disappointed and like maybe didn't have that connection, and
Yeah.
he's like, well, like like it's nice to see a familiar face, right? Like even
Yeah.
if we're just because they were
Yeah.
like neighbors or something. And he's like, yeah, like
Yeah.
let's go hang out. Like the police chief's here too. Like it'll be great.
Yeah.
So
Which that did annoy me when she was like, "Oh, he started drinking again." It's like it's one night with his buds, like that he
yeah.
hasn't seen. Like, chill out,
Also,
Which I get, but yeah,
it's kind of funny what she does there when she's like reprimanding them. And she's talking to the other guy, and she says like moshi mosh. That's like a traditional like phone
Yeah.
greeting in Japan. It's
Yeah.
not a traditional
yeah. She's
face to
like,
face
"Hey,
greeting,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
right,
that's not like a hey. It's not a hello. It's like a it's like almost
Yeah.
specifically for the phone. I don't think I've heard it in
yeah."
any other context, so it was very surprising to me that she
Yeah.
used it there. Um,
Maybe back before phones were as widely used,
right.
maybe it had a different
Yeah,
meaning.
that's what I
I
was
don't know.
thinking. I think it
But
might be for
yeah,
strangers,
hey,
or like strangers
yeah,
of a like if you don't know like where they sort of position relative to you in like a social hierarchy, you just say like mush mush. It's like
yeah,
sort of generally sort of polite but not deferential, and not
yeah,
like you're not lording it
yeah.
over the other person, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of different nuances to the Japanese language, which I don't really know that much about. But I just thought that was particularly interesting to see.
It struck me too because you never hear it used in any other context, so it is funny. You mentioned something there about like that it's not as universal an experience, the kind of like the thrust of the plot of this movie. And I wonder how much the generational difference, not just of like, oh, we're not, in post-war Japan when things you couldn't whatever talk to people or see your family face to face as easily. The duty that people feel to their parents is wildly different now.
Yeah.
Like there is, especially with people of our age bracket and
Yeah.
slightly younger, of like, I am not obligated to provide you with anything. You brought me into this world. Like this is even the people who are like it's selfish to have kids at all, like that kind of thing. Like it just, you know, and not saying that we feel that way, but
we could get into a lot about like the social contract and how like the younger generation might feel like that's been broken by the older generation, especially in terms of like economic purchasing power, yada yada. I mean, almost all of my friends think they're never going to be able to buy a home, and it's kind of weird to hear them say that, especially like friends who are like significantly older than me who are like, yeah, I'm just never going to be able to buy a home. And like you talk to them and like I don't know, they have parents who like own houses, and it's like, well, like you understand
the parents are going to die.
Well, I mean like that, but it's also, it's like either your parents sell the house to like BlackRock or whatever, and like move into a nursing home or something, or you inherit their house, right? Like there's not a ton of other avenues there, right? Like, or they sell it and downsize, which is not very likely.
They're
doesn't
not
really
doing...
happen.
So
not
if you have like a one kid or, you know, a 2 or 3 bedroom home, that's not happening as often. So.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's, I think that the youth are very disenfranchised, especially the like generation after us. Younger children feel very disenfranchised by the world that they're sort of inheriting. Well,
millennials too.
I
mean, I feel like because a lot of millennial, like people like, you know, 10-ish years and older than us, like in their like late 30s, 40s kind of type, they are now at the point where they're putting their parents into homes, or they're
or like
having to deal with like aging
stuff.
parents. And where it's like the obligation or like the entitlement even, you know, is being felt and not reciprocated in the way that, you know, parents are expecting. But then it's a two-way street in that way that you're saying. It's like, well, if you're economically, you know, disenfranchised, you can't necessarily take care of your parents in the home in the same way that you could 60 years ago or whatever. So, so I just wonder how much that part of kind of the generational difference, or like the way society is structured now here in this country, you know, changes the way that we view this story.
100%. Yeah. And that's why I was sort of trying to talk about, or I tried to sort of mention earlier in a fumbling way, I guess. But...
It wasn't as smart as when I said
that's why I was humbling myself with saying that, you know, I was saying, debasing myself saying that.
I'm kidding. I just brought it up again in a different way.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm copying your homework, but changing it a little bit so the teacher, aka the watcher's doing this. That's all.
I actually, for a little bit in high school, I would do other people's homework, but I would write it like they would. So I would like ask them for like pieces of their writing so I could write it like them. And they like didn't get that, and I stopped doing it because like, I mean, for a little bit I was being paid for it, and then like they tried to stop, and I was like, all right, well, like it's just not happening then, man. Like they're like, well, can I at least see yours? I was like, no, because you're just going to copy it, and like you don't understand how to change things. Yeah. You can't write in another tone, bro. Like
my team at work, I have a teammate who just kind of recently joined my team within the last like 6 months, and they sent a email, like I sent an example email being like, this is what I would send, like here's, you know, I'm copying you on this so that you can see how I would send this. And then I saw them send the same type of email a couple days later with my particular verbiage. Like I write how I talk in a lot of ways. Like obviously I'm more professional, but like, you know, I put in there like, is there something fishy going on here? And I'm like, listen, you would never say this. Like, you need to do a better job of like rewriting. Like, you would never say something so corny as is something fishy going on here in a work email. Like, let's not.
Well, so I think a lot of people sort of like, especially if you like give them an example, they'll use it as a boilerplate, and it's like
a template.
Yeah, or a template, I guess, instead is a better way to put it. But like, I mean, I do that because I will have, like, I write up boilerplates for myself, because I'll be like, if I'm sending the same thing, like, 100 times, I just want to be able to change that, like, 1 or 2, like, whatever pertinent information, right? Everything else.
But it's different if it's your, like,
but if somebody else is sending it, I want their email to look different from mine. Even just so that the person reading it, like, can very quickly identify that we are different people, right? End of the day.
Right. No, I mean, it's a good idea I love having a template or like, written out language so that I don't have to think about it. But you don't, you know, it's still my language. Like, let's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could have your own template. But
yeah.
But no, I mean maybe we should, like, if we keep this podcast going long enough, when one of our fucking parents or close family members dies or gets really deathly sick, we can rewatch this movie. This will be the first movie we want to watch. We want to rewatch. That's the Patreon.
I will also say that my dad's dead.
I know your dad is dead, but you've said before that, like, the conversation you had with him was, like, so shallow.
Yeah.
Where he was like, "How's school?" And you're like, "Good. How's the hospital?"
Yeah, because it's tough. What the fuck do you talk? I mean, what do you talk about with the guy who you're estranged from for, like, 16 years of your life?
That's what I mean.
It's like, all right, hey, dude,
so, a little different.
What's up, man?
You know,
like, what am I supposed to say? Like, you ever regret leaving me? And it's like, I think he said he did, and I was like, all right, well, cool, damn. I guess.
You're only saying that because you're about to die.
yeah. It's like, well, that means, like, less than nothing, right? Like, I don't know, bro. Like,
yeah.
So, end of the day, I mean, the one thing that did get me was that, like, the day we went down to visit him, my mom, like, made up some car trouble, so we never got there, even though it was like half an hour away, and she was like, "Oh, it's just too far, we can't go," and he died later that day. It was like the day we were supposed to visit. I was like, all right, fucking cool, Mom, like, great.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, we were sitting there, like, at a, like, fucking, I don't know, Michelin or whatever, a Goodyear or something, just like
AutoZone.
Yeah, AutoZone. Like, for hours, and I get the call from one of my brothers that, like, my dad died. And I was like, all right, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
And then, like, they're like, oh, yeah, nothing wrong with the car. And Mom was like, oh, well, you know, I guess that's a shame. No,
can't be too safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guess we just go home and, you know, nothing happened today. And it's like, all right, cool, fucking great. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It sucks.
Happens. Just weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, obviously, everyone that we know and love is going to live forever.
Thankfully,
so maybe we
right?
never revisit this movie. Yeah, like, but, you know, if that changes. It is kind of funny that she's, like, 68 years old, and they're like, God, she's up there.
Yeah.
That, I work with people who are 68 years old.
Yeah.
So, like, that is not that old. But the what do you make of the line, "Life is disappointing," and they're like, yeah,
it's just truth.
Like,
they're just spitting facts, bro.
If I don't know, it almost feels like not really the right, I don't know, like, what the point of this movie is. Like, life is not, I don't know, I not that it's not the point of the movie. What am I trying to say? Like, it feels like maybe that's a different summation of the themes than I was expecting. Or, I guess, I don't know.
When do they say that? Is it right by the end?
Like, basically at the end. Yeah. Because it's when she's like, are you going to be like this too? The Kyoko says to, is it Fumiko? She's like, ranting. She's like, these fucking siblings, how dare they ask for my dead mom's clothes, like, so soon, before the body's cold, and, like, all of that kind of thing. And then she's like, I'm gonna be selfish too one day, don't be, don't get it twisted, basically, like, this is gonna happen to everybody, you're just young. And I think she says, like, life is disappointing, huh? And she's like, yep. So it's like in that conversation at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, a lot of it just comes down to, like, it's post-war Japan. These people have lost a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even in, like, some of the small conversations where they're like, hey, like when they were drinking, he's like, hey, your house didn't get firebombed at least, so that's cool, right?
Yeah, true.
And they were like, oh, that was a good place. It's a nice house. That's good news. It's like just so, like, unfazed about it, right? And it's like, I think it's very brave. It's very brave. I mean, part of it is, like, a cope, and, like, part of it is also, it's like the opposite of those, like, life's good stickers that people have on, like, Jeeps and stuff. It's just like, life's disappointing, and it's like, well, yeah.
This is the second time we've brought up car stuff. We should talk about my cool Prius and all the work I'm doing on it. since I'm turning it into the Mario Kart.
Oh, I did have a joke about that too.
Oh, please. You said we should, WII. Should.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned something about the gays in New York in the 1980s.
Oh yeah, talking about Bret Easton Ellis.
Yeah. And the joke is that they would see your Prius and be like, "Oh, it's Mario Kart 8." Like, right?
That's a joke you have to have so much context for. That is crazy. You had to it took you longer to explain the setup than to actually fucking say the joke.
As soon as you said...
You're like, remember this conversation from 30 minutes ago?
Well, as soon as you... Okay.
I just thought of this joke.
I did not just think of it. I thought of it.
You wrote it down.
I thought of it an hour and a half ago when you first messaged me about the Mario Kart. And I was immediately like, oh...
I gotta hold on to this.
At a gay, if you drove past a gay pride parade, they'd be like, "Oh, that Mario Kart 8," and I was like, "All right, how can I work this into the conversation somehow?" And I couldn't earlier, so I was like, "If Wayne mentions it again, then boom, that's my time. I gotta use it. Gotta strike while the iron is lukewarm, right?"
You're like a fucking rodent squirreling away jokes for the
I'm stuffing them up my cheek.
It's actually
just all
horrifying to see how this creature operates. This is scary. You wrote down a joke an hour and a half ago. And
I didn't write it down, by the way. Just all on the noggin, bro.
How can I shoehorn this into my conversation about fucking Tokyo Story on our podcast? God.
Tokyo Monogatari.
Oh my god. Is the movie Toy Story a pun on this movie's title? Because a lot of the movies, right, like the Pixar movies, they're puns. Right? Their names are kind of punny.
It could be.
Is this... Because, what does Toy Story mean? It's just a story about toys? That just seems so empty.
Yeah, and they do have a lot of themes of human interactions and outgrowing one another, and the duties that That
I think is a reach, but I hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm just fucking with you. Yeah.
Is there?
Although the duties that the toys have to Andy, and that Andy also has to the toys, I think because there's that reciprocal relationship there. I don't know.
You said duty. That was my Beavis.
Nice.
Wow, you just bodied that Beavis butthead.
Nice.
That butthead ate. Do you have anything else to say about Tokyo Story from 1953, directed by Yasujirō Ozu?
I do not.
Cool. Yeah. Glad we watched it. We'll watch another movie from this director sometime and see, if our feelings have changed.
I'd like that, yeah.
But, yeah. A cool looking movie, at the very least. Very... I feel influential, probably, on a lot of directors that we probably haven't even covered, know, up to this point.
It's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's and as far as old movies go, right? It feels like It's a Wonderful Life, but it's... I just don't know how well it holds up with, a contemporary audience, right? Or a modern audience, right?
Modern...
Contemporary with
especially the modern
Western with us as the viewer, not contemporary with the time of the piece being made. So
interesting stuff. Well, we're cinephiles now, so now that we've watched that, we watched Jean Dielman and this.
I will be honest with you. I was expecting something more akin to Jean Dielman going into this, something more Ackerman-like, with much less dialogue, much more.
Literally, why? What about this movie gave you any Chantal Ackerman vibes?
No, that's just what I thought. I don't know why. I read the little blurb about it while I was trying to figure out where to watch it.
It's the humanity in the world around us.
It is the humanity in the world around us of it all. Yeah, truly.
A banger of a poster. I'll say that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Thought. It's a great poster.
Shot. Yeah.
She does have a crazy face. Like, not crazy bad, but, like, just, she has, like, a very expressive, pained smile the whole time that just, it's an effective, like, an effective face acting.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Alright, it's a Rick's pick.
It is a Rick's pick.
Pick 'em.
So, this is a movie.
I fucking told you yesterday.
I have one! I was worried. Fuck you!
I'm sorry I doubted you. This is
a movie that we've talked about before. We've mentioned on the pod. It has a pod favorite actor on it. It's a bit bleh, but I kind of want to watch it. And I've had 2 signs that I should watch it in the last week.
What are the 2 signs? I want to see if I can guess the movie based on the signs.
The 2 signs are, one is an advertisement that I got for it on Plex while I was watching Tokyo Story.
Is this a new release?
It is not a new release.
Okay, so it's not the Looney Tunes
movie. It is
movie.
Also available on Plex.
It would be really funny if you were like, the movie star that is one of our guys is Bugs Bunny.
No, although I should have done that. No.
Okay. And then what's the second?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's the second?
I thought it was on this list. It's not on this list.
Ooh.
But I did stumble across a list called Conservative Cinema on Twitter.
Wait.
And it's very funny, the movies on here. Very, very funny.
Wait. Who's the guy? Who's our guy that's in this movie? Is it Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell. It is Kurt Russell.
Are we talking about Escape from New York? Is that...
We are talking about Escape from New York, yeah!
Interesting. That's crazy. Okay, so we're
watching...
watch? Yeah, I'll watch Escape from New York. That's a fucking...
Okay!
I just watched this movie, like, maybe 2 months ago, though. Just as long as that's okay with you.
That's crazy. That's okay, yeah.
That's a great movie. That's a fantastic fucking... Yeah. Interesting. So you saw an advertisement for this on Plex, you said?
Yeah, because it's on Plex for free.
Interesting. It's also on Prime. That's crazy.
It is also on Prime. That's probably where I'm going to watch it. Maybe Freevee, you know?
I watched
It's also on Fubu. Or Fubo, if you guys have that.
It's on Nike. It's on Skechers.
I heard Adidas Air have this if anybody's taking flights soon.
I just watched this in November. November 30th.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love this movie. We just talked about this last week because of Lee Van Cleef, the Angel Eyes from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, is in this movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we've mentioned this a few times.
We've also mentioned this because this is it's about to be a horny episode. This next one. Have you seen what he looks like in this movie? Do you know? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, and I want to watch it. This shit looks great, man.
Do you know anything about this movie or like the influence it's had? I guess.
Listen, I know what the ad gave me, and the ad gave me
leather Kurt Russell, yeah, like
leather Kurt Russell with an eye patch,
yeah,
with a guy going, "I need you to get in there and get the president out. A plane went down over New York with the president inside. I need you to go in there and get him out for me."
What if
Kurt Russell going, "But why me?" And he goes, "'Cause you're the only one I got."
What if we watch this movie right now and then come back and pod? Because now the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm like, we should watch this movie. I might watch this movie tonight.
I cannot. I am being messaged currently to get into Baldur's Gate. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm kidding. No, I love this movie. This is probably my favorite action movie of all time. So, and there's
Let's go!
There's a lot of threads for us to talk about. So,
hell yeah.
Sweet.
And you thought I didn't have a pick. I had the best fucking pick, and you're like, "Oh, I told you to come with a pick."
I doubted you. You were the only man I got, but you came in for the job. No, this is great. I'm excited.
I have the pick, but why me?
I think this movie will rock your world. I think this is
hell
a
yeah
movie. So,
hell yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, cool. Next week, read it out. It's a Rick's pick, so you read the title and year. Do you know who directed this? Right. That's gonna blow your mind too, since you don't know.
Oh shit! It's our guy. All right.
Yeah, he's one of our guys, I guess. Yeah.
He's my guy, at least. Next week, we want to watch Escape from New York, 1981, featuring Kurt Russell, directed by John Carpenter.
I like that you put in featuring Kurt Russell. Something. That's cool. Should we
a little pizzazz on it?
Should we end this with no music, kind of like the bulk of Tokyo Story, which has no fucking music in it for most of it, like 95%?
We could do that.
Silent.
Or don't they have like kids singing at the end, like the
There's
national
music,
anthem or
but
something?
yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe something understated.
So WAP.
Yeah. Do WAP, but like really quiet.
I was gonna
maybe
say
performed by like a choir or something.
I'm sure I could find a children's choir, or maybe there's a kids WAP version of WAP, a kids WAP. I was gonna say that.
I don't know about that, man. I think you gotta cut that.
I was gonna say I would do the Daft Punk WAP remix that I commissioned a while back, but really quiet. That would be really fun.
Do it sort of slowed down too, so it's a little bit more somber.
With some reverb? Wait, should I do like WAP?
Now let me see WAP.
That's not WAP. What?
Oh,
Wrong
fuck.
WAP,
no,
dumbass.
Wait. Oh, what am I thinking of? Oh,
You're thinking
wait.
of...
I made a little bit of money.